Sir Ian Chasterton, Knight of Jaffa, eaten alive by ants. What a shame. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. This morning I wrapped up The Crusade, and as usual, it was a good one. It's a pure historical, you know how much I love those, so let's talk about it. The most interesting thing about this story is that it doesn't focus on the battles and the Holy War per se. Instead, it focuses on the people and the politics and the intrigue. And it's always much more interesting when the story is humanized at a personal level. Case in point, Sir Richard's plan to bring about peace by marrying off his sister Joanna to Saladin's brother Seraphon immediately falls to pieces in both directions. On Saladin's side, Saladin himself does not believe in any way that a marriage will accomplish peace, although his brother Saladin certainly does. And there is a phenomenal scene between the two of them in which Saladin grants his blessing for the marriage, but very clearly states that he will be preparing his armies because he understands that battle is inevitable and that a simple marriage will not resolve the issues at hand. Meanwhile, in King Richard's court, Joanna flat out refuses the marriage, citing the authority of the Pope over the authority of her brother the King. King Richard is disheartened and resigns himself to the inevitable battle at hand. And so that brings us to our lead characters, with the Doctor and Vicky dismissed from King Richard's court, although suspected by one of King Richard's knights to be spies of Saladin. And meanwhile, Ian finds himself in a literally sticky situation. He finds himself bound and staked in the middle of the desert by a petty thief and left at the mercy of hungry fire ants. This, of course, being doubly ironic given Ian's thoughts on the Zarbi, the giant ants, in the previous story. Of course, Ian, being a man of action, manages to escape and ultimately manages to rescue Barbara from the clutches of El Akir, the Arab who has been holding her captive. And even there, in El Akir's household, there is a whole subplot with murder and subterfuge and kidnapping. It's great stuff. And therein lies my point. Writer David Whitaker manages to fill this story with human drama and intrigue and action, while still fulfilling his obligations for the story to be educational for the young viewers and teaching them about the Crusades and King Richard and all of the politics involved. I think he pulls it off masterfully, and there are some great performances in the show, particularly by actress Jean Marsh in the role of Joanna. The name Jean Marsh leapt out at me. She returns again in some other stories further down the road. To me, the saddest thing about this story is that half of it is completely missing, and it seems to be way down on the bottom of the list of stories to restore through animation. And that's largely down to two factors. The funding source for upcoming restorations like The Faceless Ones and Fury from the Deep, they have a strong preference for animating entire stories and animating in color so that they have a complete product that they can show end to end and market on modern broadcasts. And so a story like this, where 50% of the story would be black and white film, and then the other 50% would be color animation, that's just not a really marketable product. And the other problem is that the Crusade in particular has multiple locations and a wide list of characters. And when you're talking about doing animated recreations, the majority of the expense comes from painting the backgrounds for each location and then devising each individual character animation for every speaking part. And so when you have a story that only has a couple of locations, like Fury from the Deep, which is basically a base under siege story and takes place mostly in one location, it becomes much more expensive to do something like the Crusades. So as much as I enjoy this story, I don't anticipate seeing a restoration of this anytime soon. I hope I'm wrong, but there you have it. So that's it for today. Tomorrow I start a truly weird story called The Space Museum. I hope you'll join me then.